So we uh we had our usual tornadic activity last night. We're in the middle of the country, so everything bad that happens to us. God, it's just crazy. So we didn't get anything here though. It just
Hmm.
made for a very boring night at work, quite frankly. Other than that, everything was all right. I'm gonna try to get over here where I've got a little bit of light for you. All
Oh
right,
yeah.
what's
Do you know the weird thing? I woke up in the morning and the Alexa had a notification because it's the same one
yeah?
I had in the village. And I was like, Alexa, notification. It said tornado warning. I was like, Jesus, I
Don't
need to
you
update this damn address.
don't you miss it? Don't you miss it?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
and you and they'd go, but you do have the occasional tornado, and that was like the downside. You do have the occasional tornado, like it was okay.
Then we had the earthquakes for a bit because of the
Yeah,
fracking.
I was gonna say, yeah, that was man made. That was man made. You don't think man can affect the weather and everything? Give me a minute. So,
Come on. Have you seen that nice video of this gentleman with the snowball in Congress? It didn't melt.
yes. Okay, so here's the thing. I was on a radio show with him, and it's got to be
Hmm.
10 years ago. Okay, 10 years ago, and I'm not going to say his name so I don't get in trouble here. 10 years ago, my wife and I are in a radio studio with him. She gives her interview, and he comes in with a couple of young guys. It's all white males, everybody that's with him, but they're young. They're like in their early 20s, and he's out of his mind 10 years ago. Couldn't remember the announcer's name. Couldn't remember anybody in the studio's name. And you know how
Uh-huh.
people do before they make a racist joke and they turn their head to the left and turn their head to the right. So
Hmm.
in the middle of nothing during a commercial, he does the racist left to right, and I'm like, oh God, what's coming? I don't know if I want to hear this. And he goes, we won. And everybody in the room is like, Senator, what did we win? I mean, trying to be polite, you would be to your grandma. She was talking about shit from 100 years ago. He goes,
Hmm.
we won. And they're like, okay, once again, Senator, what did we win? He goes, back in, and I don't remember the exact date, so I don't want to be wrong there, but the early 2000s, climate
Hmm.
change was number one and number two on the importance list of people. And we knocked it down below 20. And I am
Ah,
literally in the room with one of the 100 most important people on this side of the world telling me that they won because they kicked fucking climate change down to number 20
no,
in
good
the room.
Lord.
No one else. I mean, there's six of us in there, and we're all looking at each other, going, "He
Hmm.
obviously doesn't know Kathy and I." And he thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And you just got now we are suffering the consequences of it. As I'm sure you guys are over there. I've seen some rain over there. Not normal
Oh, God.
monsoon, but
No, not
rain
at
where the
all.
motorcycles. Yeah, the motorcycles couldn't swim.
Our weather is like really weird now. I've
Yeah.
seen it change over the past 10 years. Bangalore,
Yeah.
to be honest, was considered like a pensioner's paradise back in the day. And it was
Correct.
actually called the Garden City because it has the most number of
Hmm.
gardeners. Now
Nice.
it's like hot as hell because
Oh
we have
wow. Yeah.
we have literally paved paradise and put up parking
Yeah.
lots.
Isn't it? It's amazing how sometimes songs are very, very, very true. I
I
think they
know.
were talking about Los Angeles at the time, but
Hmm.
it's true. Yeah. How about that? The senator, top 100 people in our side of the world. Yeah.
Hmm.
Didn't give a shit. Yeah. And people would
It,
talk to me about him over the years, and I would hesitate whether to bring up the conversation or not, because it isn't going to
mhm.
change the dynamic. People are going to believe whatever they want to believe. And then every once in a while, I'd be careful taking anything he says as something he meant, because I've been in the room.
Oh God.
Yeah. And I'm not name dropping because I'm not dropping any names.
I know. I'm not saying anything either. That's why I called him the weird little
Jesus.
gentleman
Right.
with the eye with
With,
the
with
snowball.
the snowball. Right. It's amazing what people will do for a paycheck, isn't it? Jeez, oh,
Um,
Pete.
no, I
No, no,
wonder
go ahead.
what exactly is going to happen with climate change, especially in in. I know like all the coastal areas are going to like be underwater,
Right.
and they do say that one of the largest displacement of populations due to global warming is going to be here in India toward the
Well, that doesn't, I mean,
west.
you have so many people also. So,
Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
That
Yeah. So I
no
don't,
one's doing anything about it.
no, I mean, you guys are, what we talked about the other day. You guys are in the middle class run right now. So no
Mm-hmm.
one is going to care as long as they get their stuff. As always in everything political, poor people are going to get stuck with it. And they probably had little or nothing to do with any of it.
I know.
That is our
It's going to
world.
be them. I said that's the weird part, that the argument that developing nations produce when it comes to all these climate summits is that they say that all of this was dumped by all the Western countries who are now developed countries. Now, if you put climate restrictions on these countries, they're just stopping us from growing because they're so it looks weird even that way.
Uh-huh. Oh, and look, everybody's got a viable, argument when it comes to whether they can feed their kids.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really care about the forest if you need a fire to be able to cook some rice and beans? You're
Yeah.
going to cut down the last tree. I mean, that's just humans are a little short-sighted, and I think we've come a long way, but we want to believe we're so much better than the animals, but the animals, that some eat where they shit, and then other ones
Mm-hmm.
are smart enough not to. And we've got a lot of people that are willing to eat where they shit.
Mm-hmm.
Just do. It's kind of tragic, but I live in an oil state. That is where our money comes from.
Yeah.
But we have solar and we have wind, and the oil lobby fights that right and left. And I have nothing against the oil people. My kids did well out of all of that. But there does come a time when you have to realize that your business is shrinking, and it's
Mm-hmm.
time to have other businesses come into play. But the real argument, Deepak, and this is a real argument, as they go, the only thing that is really able to be counted on is natural gas and oil.
Yeah.
Or if you're growing what is that stuff called, switchgrass? Switchgrass you can burn, but you're polluting terribly when you're
Mm-hmm.
doing it. And what can you get to burn? I mean, to boil water to churn the engines. The big,
Yeah.
huge, scalable engines, and we're just not there yet. I mean, we'll get there once that takes off, like everything else. Don't you think with AI available sooner or later, with them scouring the world's internet all the time for answers, that's probably where the answer comes from?
Probably will, for the
Yeah.
sole reason that, see, right now the AIs we have are more, I think they call something like a general AI, because they're
Yeah.
technically not intelligent beings as such on
No.
the conscious. It's
Correct.
literally a word search engine that can find the different answers and put it in front of you according to the context of your question.
Correct.
Like the point where you reach like something that you see on the sci-fi movies where you're talking to a computer and it's responding to you,
Yeah.
would be the ones that would be actually finding the solutions to these things that we still haven't found out.
Yeah. And years of research is literally at your voice command at that
Mm-hmm.
point.
Yeah.
What we're dilly-dallying in now is, it's fun for you and I to do. I literally did a press release for the State Department of Education and sent it to them of how they could address an issue up here they're not addressing. And the guy wrote me back and he was like, "Oh, thank you so much." And I didn't have the heart to say, it only took me 2 minutes to get that.
I know.
But input the right information, and it really is amazing to get rid of these medial tasks. But that's how you and I used to make our money, was doing that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What I was trying to do is, I don't know if it's okay to talk about this on this thing. We've got a really small town that has a level of corruption that's just off the charts, and these kids turned in an abusive coach. And the guy literally is accused of pulling out his genitalia and showing it to the guys and screaming at him while he's grabbing his junk. And so I would like to get him removed from the school. And the problem is the State Department of Education is moving so slow. He's showing up to football games and graduation and track meets and all this other stuff with his cheering fans, the people that he didn't abuse, who are turned against the people he abused. Yeah, it's awful. But they wouldn't move. He was like, "My hands are tied." And I go, No, you can just put out a press release. And he goes, what would it say? And I go, oh, give me about 10 minutes. I'll send it to you. Because I hate shit like that when somebody acts incompetent and he makes 130,000 a year for that job.
I know. Ugh.
Right. You and I could do it for half and still have some spare time.
I know.
Shit.
There are certain times where I look at certain jobs and I'll be like, oh shit, that is actually one of our breaks where I can get on call with you and finish that whole thing. Like some dude's job somewhere.
Exactly. Right. Hey, Deepak, I need you for 10 minutes and we can be done. Right. But I don't know if you and I would be willing to cover his ass like that. And that's what you're getting paid for, is to be part of the problem. You know, so there's always money in shitting on your neighbor. There's always money in that. So it's unfortunate.
That's why they say, right, the right choice and the
financially
right choice, the moral choice and the
right.
financially right choice are always polar opposite.
Yeah, the two do not intersect. Yeah, it's a conscious choice. Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic up here. And you know, I somebody called my restaurant 2 days ago and yell at one of my servers, and they're like, I am gonna sue, and they're like, can I help you with something? And they go, Sean Cummings, he had my son's name on TikTok and I'm going to sue him.
Jesus Christ. Who is this? Like the coach's someone?
It's probably somebody from that town. Yeah. Oh, dude, they threatened me, sliced my tires, all this other BS. The thing is that probably works in a small town. You know, I look around and go, dude, okay, come on up. See if you can find my house first, and we'll deal with you then. But in their small community, probably a bunch of the people that are in charge are not necessarily in on it. They weren't abusive, but they've allowed it, perpetuated it, and stuff like that. And in small communities, there's nowhere for anybody to go. If you go to an authority, they're the one and only authority. And then, you know, you can go on social media, but you get shunned from the town.
Is it like that weird thing where the sheriff is related to somebody in the town anyway, so you can't do shit?
Right. And you know, not all sheriffs are good. They really aren't. Not all of them are good, but not all of them are bad. I need to say that as well. So yeah, local politics. And I will guarantee you go to a small town in India, you have the same set one way or another.
Why small town? I can find that kind of dynamic in some small neighborhood just 5 minutes away from here.
Right. Well, think of the average homeowners association. I mean, if people don't know what that is, it's, you know, your neighborhood, instead of a small town, it's your neighborhood creates their own board to regulate everybody's behavior, what the grass needs to look like, houses need to be painted, and all this other stuff. And it's never the nicest person in charge. That doesn't exist.
No, the nicest person would never. I think we weed them all out in the lower levels of society, strata, jobs, all of that. It's only the psychopaths who come to the top with no empathy.
Make it to the top. Yeah, I think you're right. And you know, the funny thing is, because a nice person wouldn't want to be in charge of that. You know, they just wouldn't want it. It's an interesting dynamic. So I have a friend of mine that used to be a teacher, and he says the people are most excited and agitated by the things that matter the least. And it's a pretty good quote. So, you know, the color of your house matters to me. Why?
I have no idea. Like, I'll show you this outside my window. Okay. I wonder whether you can see it. Here we have no such rules. James was walking once. He asked me. He was like, "Is that a greenhouse?" And I was like, "Yes, leave it alone."
Yes, it is. Right. Well, so what that comes down to is most white folks will only paint their house white, yellow, tan, kind of a muted color. And it's really, weirdly enough, a way to identify people that came from countries where color means life.
Yep.
And that would be brown and black people. And so it's coded language one way or another. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
There was an episode about the homeowners association that I was watching maybe a couple of weeks ago. It was on John Oliver's show. And he was talking about them asking people to move a bench because it's in the wrong place outside their door. You're not allowed to have a bench. Your fence is not supposed to be this color. They find a lady like almost $1,500 for the blinds in a window were a different color then. I was like,
Oh,
really? How does this matter to anybody's life?
those are first world problems, my
I
friend.
know.
Those when that's the stuff you can argue about, life must be pretty dang good. And it proves that you're just miserable. You're just miserable. And you have all the amenities. Think of, I mean, the average poor person today lives better than a king in the 1400s. The average rich person today lives better than most royalty because they can have hot food in their house. And by the time royalty gets it from the kitchen, it's all cold. Everything's cold every day. All cold. Which explains their pasty skin.
After yesterday's episode, we just decided to depress the shit out of most people.
Exactly. There you go.
It's an unfair world, people. That's all we're trying to tell you.
It is. That's all it is. Let's move on. Let's have some fun. Well, I'll think of something fun up here. So my relatives came in last night from Kansas City on my wife's side, and they booked a hotel online. They showed up to the hotel and it was like a crack hotel. For those of you who don't, that would be a bad hotel in an unsavory part of town.
Hey, I guess people who would listen to this have watched enough Hollywood movies if they haven't been to America to understand what we're talking about when we say crack hotel.
Right.
A lovely crack den.
Right, exactly. Glass pipes everywhere, some relatively used syringes available. And so she
AIDS-free used syringe.
We've cleaned these ones with bleach. They're ready for. And I don't care where you are in America. Every town's got a little bit part of called the Badlands. The Badlands are Philadelphia. They've got a whole mile by mile stretch of just terrible stuff. And so they go look at the hotel, and then they go to the hotel site and they write it and they go, okay, I don't know where you sent us to. And it was a legit site. So I'm sure the damage is done for those folks. It's over. Cracked in. Shit. That's my funny story of the day, my man.
The funny story I have is last night I almost threw up because of the amount of cologne some dude had dumped his face into and was standing right next to me. And I was like, oh my God, I think for a minute I was talking, I was on a call. So like 15 minutes into that call, I was like, why am I starting to get a migraine? I was like, Alex, I think it's your voice. And he was like, shut up, you talk to me every day, you don't get a migraine. And I finally realized it was this dude. I don't know what the hell happens to people, especially in India at least, when they're wearing a suit. It's almost like they buy a suit and that guy gives them one tube of hair gel to spike their hair and one bottle of cologne, and he's like, okay, dump yourself here. Let's hit town.
This was complimentary with the suit, sir.
Yeah.
You know, I always look at it because I'm allergic to some cologne, so it doesn't work out well for me, and that's why I keep a mask around so I can put it on. I always wonder, does their nose not work? You know what I mean? Because
oh no, I think it's basically like people who are standing in like the guy who was cleaning the loos in Peru. He's been in that smell for so long, he doesn't notice it.
Doesn't even notice, God. So I would say, how very French of you to have put on so much cologne. Thank you so much.
And I was so annoyed. Like I was just on the phone with Alex and I was picking him apart for no fault of his, okay? That guy's just standing next to me and he's like, look at that fucker and his fucking cologne and his stupid hair. And I looked down and I don't know why men's shoe have gotten like pointier and pointier over the years. I was like, you can stab someone with that damn thing.
Right.
What the hell is that, Sean? It's been bothering me.
Okay, so the first place I ever saw that was a friend of mine that went over to your country and came back with those shoes. And that was probably 12 or 14 years ago. Literally, it came from India. And I was like,
those I know what they're called. They're called kolapuris, and they're supposed to be worn with those little garb dresses that we have, the kurtas. It's not for dudes wearing it with a suit and running around and irritating me.
Yeah, but that's the first place I ever saw it. And I was like, where do your toes end on this thing? You know? Yeah. And there was no real answer. I got to put my deal in my pocket here so I can turn I am making my bread right now. I thought today while we were on this
Mhm.
recording that I should do something that, nobody would do in India, as far as I understand. So as a business owner, I'm going to go in and tidy up the loo while I'm talking to you on the.
Is
I
this
know you
episode going
guys.
to be called Right Down the Toilet?
That's right. Oh, there you go. Oh, some of my best work went down the toilet. There you go. Okay, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. That's fairly tidy. But sometimes every day I come in here, I can tell you how busy we were by the way the loo looks. and how late people were here. The more paper on the ground, the later they were here. And the things they will leave behind for me. Wow.
Oh God.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's disturbing. So that's my.
I think you've told me a list of stuff that you've found in there.
Well, and the thing is, nobody really wants to think about it or hear about it. So we probably better move on to something.
I know.
And I'm trying to think of what I've got going today and over the weekend. I was in my little weird political world. I've got city council on Monday, and just so people can hear how petty all of this is, not just the lady yelling at me the other day. So I get this call from this lady, and she goes, we're rebuilding a couple of roads, right? And there's very specific work that goes into it, and very few people know anything about it. And she's coming on Monday, and I'm not making fun of her. She's coming on Monday with drawings and charts that she believes the road should just be one way, which of course works for her, but doesn't work for anybody else. And there's a company there with 1,000 employees that have to leave, at about the same time. Yeah. And I was like, okay, we'll bring it on Monday. I'll get you on the meeting agenda. For most people listening, it's very easy to speak at a city council meeting. And, if you're watching videos of it, you only see the crazy people. You never see there's a bunch of. Right.
I've done it once.
You did your presentation. Yeah, it's not that hard.
Hey, but the crazies that went on after me, I'm still fascinated about those dudes.
Was it the old people?
The 3 old guys who came together as friends.
Yeah. Ooh, Lord. Yeah, they're still around.
I'll probably have to delete this, but I still remember the guy standing on that podium, and he was talking to the city council, and he was trying to explain the Chabad to them. And he said, where the Jew kids play.
Oh, no. No.
Alex looked at me and he was like, did you hear that?
Oh, wow. Well, weren't we at that other meeting where they said that I like brown people? Mm-hmm. Weren't you and that you and I together? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I still remember that well. I like brown people.
You were the idiot who looked at me and went like, I think he's talking to you.
I believe I was right. I think he was. I was, man, you know what it really was is I was embarrassed. I didn't know who to look at, but I was like, is he talking to my friends? God dang, man. Really? The guy said where the Jew kids play. Oh, Lord. Wow. Oh, every time I think we're making progress.
I know. Alex, just to be a dick at times when he's driving past, he'll be like, you remember those old dudes? I think that's where the Jew kids play. And I'm like, can you knock it off?
Oh, my Lord. That is awful, sir. That is awful. Well, here's my goal today is to get finished up down here. I'm still making bread, but to get finished up down here and get all my work done early so I can nap. That's what I do as an old person. I literally get my work done so I can nap. It's really sad that has become the most important part of my day.
The nap before the evening opening.
Right. It really is. It's so sad. But I have my daughter's dog is over at my house, and he loves me dearly because I feed him food. He doesn't love me. He just loves the food. But he's charcoal black with charcoal black eyes. And so in the middle of the night, I will feel this hot breath on the side of my face. And he doesn't bark and he doesn't touch you. He doesn't startle you. He stalks you until you feel uncomfortable enough to get up and do what he wants. And he'll make a little grunt like, hey, 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 it's crazy as hell. But he always gets what he wants. He's smart.
Daisy used to be a dick that way because if she's awake, I know she can yawn quietly, but she wouldn't do that if she knew that I was still asleep. Like the yawns would get louder and louder. Like she'll make that ow, and I'm like, I know you can yawn silently, you little shit.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Hey, welcome to marriage. That's practice for marriage right there. Your wife's awake and they're bored. They just want to talk to you, but instead of saying that, they'll just keep yawning loudly. Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. All right. Okay, we are to the end of our legislative session here. So let's drop a little more politics before we go. So they are still arguing over whether to give the Catholic Church money for schools, which, you know, we've been through that in England, Ireland, Wales, and Scotland. Doesn't turn out well. And we're doing it here and in Texas and in Florida and all this other stuff. So instead of regular public schools, which is all we guarantee citizenry, that's what they're going to get. And then they passed a bunch of crazy trans bills. And to be totally honest with you, I'm in the restaurant business and I only know about 3 or 4 trans people. And that's all I know. But we're doing an awful lot of work for some reason or another to pick on these folks because it's easier for like the neighborhood bullies to go after them and nobody cares. We're getting uglier as a society, which I hate to see, but you know, it's just for people to stay in power, man. I mean, that's the way it works. So my last thing that, you know, before we go is, so what changes that? Because, you know, we've gotten people to the point they won't vote. We've got people to the point they won't involve themselves. And then we have the hypersensitive news watchers, you know, usually national news. Yeah. Speaking of which, did you catch any of the Donald on CNN?
Oh, yes. I actually was listening to the Pod Save America podcast, and they showed a bunch of clips. I love it when he looks at the presenter and other people, and like, I bet you Alex is going to call me and I'm going to answer, and he's going to be like, such a nasty person.
You are such a nasty person. I just got convicted of raping somebody, but you're a nasty person. He did not convicted. He's got to pay $5 million. Not a conviction. Right? Yeah. Well, it's just as good because it's. But he doesn't care. I mean, that dude's sick. So we got to deal with him. And so everybody that thinks they're trying to go to national politics has to square up and get behind him. That single thing yesterday allowed him to set the agenda for the Republican Party. And anyone that's afraid to go up against him, because he'll talk smack about him, which he does about everybody, who cares? They will have to fall in line and follow his bizarre agenda. And we have the small version of him here with a guy named Kevin Stitt that actually, if our guy's got eyebrows so big, he looks like Hitler's right-hand man, this guy that had these ginormous eyebrows.
But those of you who don't know, Kevin Stitt is also called a Stitt head.
Yeah, right. He's a stitty person. He's full of bullstit.
I remember that one.
Yeah, I could go on for days and days and days. But that is our governor, and he believes that he can be on Ron DeSantis's ticket for whatever that means.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
perfect.
Exactly.
Made for each other.
They are. Yeah.
Yesterday, I was annoyed not about the Trump thing, but fucking CNN. Now, what a piece of shit fucking media company to give him that much airtime for just money. Like,
oh yeah, well, you know, that's what it's all about. No. When you live in a world that is legitimately 100% capitalism, supposedly, that's all it's about. It isn't. You know, look, the news people got him elected by giving him free time the first time, but they also made obscene amounts of money. And they will be willing to do it again if it makes obscene amounts of money. They don't care about the longevity of the country because you're only and I don't know how it works over there with people working in corporate, but all they care about is their next bonus 3 months later. They are not concerned with the long term of the business.
You're only answerable to the investors and shareholders, not to the fucking population, not to democracy, none of that shit. Fuck all of
None of it. And Rupert Murdoch is the biggest offender on all that stuff. And, well, you know, he's still not going to be held liable ever.
No.
It's just not going to happen. And then he's got those shitty kids doing the same thing. So I look at it and go, I mean, I have a ball doing social media, and you can change a bunch of voices and stuff that way, but I don't know if I change any outcomes. What I do is I get to point out things first.
Yep.
And then people see it on the news and they go, how in the hell did he get that? And I go, people just call me with it. I'm not a reporter. I don't go look for it. They just call me with it. I'm like the Lost Ogle, this little publication. And he goes, Sean, I wait till everybody does all the legwork and then I put it out. Yeah.
But I guess also being a bar owner, people do come and tell you shit.
They tell me things they probably should not. And most of it I forget. I really do. Most of it I just go, they probably didn't really want me to hear that. I do understand that that is a weird position to be in, but I have fun with it.
Code of the bartender.
So, exactly. Well, and look, if I'm the one serving you beer, I can't say that you spoke out of line. Right? I mean, I was part of that equation. So I come into work yesterday, and Diana's here, and Diana manages the place that we own, and she goes, hey, this guy from the Attorney General's office was here and dropped off a card. And for those of you internationals, nobody wants anyone from the Attorney General's office in their business. And so,
was it something I did?
Exactly. So I'm sweating a little bit, I won't lie. And I call the AG, is what it's called, Attorney General, the AG's office. And the guy gets on the phone, and I go, hey, it's Sean Cummings. Man, Diana said that you'd dropped off a card over here. And he goes, oh, hey, Sean, what's going on? Which makes me even more uncomfortable. But it is a guy that I knew from here. And we were supposed to have a meeting there on last Wednesday, and they had to cancel. And he goes, I just wanted to make sure the folks from your group knew that we had to cancel. So I came by to talk to you and leave you my card. And then I was like, oh my God, I almost feel important right now, but I know this could turn on a dime.
Was that when you put down your passport and a bunch of cash and go like, okay, we can talk?
Thank you. Enjoy your day, sir. I'll be over here mining rocks in the field. But, not every situation turns out to be how we see them. Because, initially I was like, what on earth would be the AG's office? Why would they be in my restaurant, for God's sakes? Yeah. Isn't that crazy how it actually works out?
That is fun, eh?
It is. It is priceless.
The other day I did go try to join a gym.
Yeah.
I think people are just working out in such a different way these days that I don't understand it anymore.
Do you think COVID changed it? Because I think COVID changed everything.
I think it changed a lot of things, eh? But then there are so many CrossFit shit here. I'm like, why are y'all training for the Navy SEALs? Knock it off. Go home and do something else.
Right. It is. I think what ends up happening. So I was a runner, and I enjoyed running. It was like meditation to me. And I enjoyed swimming like meditation. Now, you notice both of those are solo, isolated acts. Where I don't like to be in a gym.
What a team player.
Right, exactly. No, everything in my life says this guy's a team player. I don't want to be in a gym where everybody keeps talking to me. That's my deal. And those folks do want to be on like a team. And you go, hey, how many sit-ups can you do? How many pull-ups and all this other stuff? And what you and I would call that, we would say you are creating a competition out of exercise. And I don't think that's that exciting. You're just exercising. That's all it is. I mean, those are, most people did that kind of stuff in PE or fitness classes, but they're impressed with themselves, and they all seem to be. That's their social deal. I don't. So, you and I talk a lot, and we talk to other people a lot. So we don't need that social outcome.
No, but I think I would freak out if somebody spoke to me in the gym. I'd be like, yeah, we're not friends. I already don't have time to meet the friends I have outside of this gym. And I'm hoping that they're at home feeling guilty that I'm not meeting them and they're not meeting me. To add another person to that list of non-meetable people.
So when they talk to me, I literally pull out one of my 1980s headphones and say, let me take my headphones out. What were you saying to me? And they usually don't get the joke.
Every gym everywhere in the world has to have that one dude with the little head and the big muscles.
Yeah.
he got to a size where even his friends stopped telling him the truth. They were like, "Yeah,
Right.
keep working out, buddy. Your head looks
Yeah.
normal."
You look great. Here's the thing, though. You'd think you could go to that guy and get some steroids. Guess what? Nope, he's taking them all. You don't get any.
Mhm. You should go up to those guys and be like, "Listen, we were all talking about this. I think you won, Jim. I think you should just go home."
There you see what they actually have to say. That's crazy stuff, man. That's crazy. Hey, oh, big news before you go. So my brick wall, I went over yesterday, it's down. They took that damn thing down and tore it out and it's gone. So my problem is now solved.
Well,
I know.
save the bricks.
Not bad. Yeah, well, I saved as many as I could. That's my line. And I'm
Yeah.
sticking to it.